So good evening, everyone. Hope you're all having a good week. Glad to be here with you tonight. So before we return to our discussion of the Heart Sutra and what we've been discussing recently, which are the 8 aspects, we'll take a moment to we've engaged in some meditation and calmed our mind. Let's further kind of empty our mind of any thoughts that we might have and arouse in your mind stream this wishing bodhicitta, the wishing bodhicitta that you wish to work and for the benefit of all sentient beings, you wish to accomplish spiritual goals on your path. We develop this motivation, that we engage in our spiritual practice, not solely to our own end, although we don't discard that completely. We don't put that out of our minds, because we cannot be of assistance and service to others unless we ourselves have our spiritual stuff together, so to speak. So primarily we do the work recognizing that we cannot achieve complete and perfect enlightenment and leave others behind, that they all must be with us. I was reading, there was one Lama, Gyatro Rinpoche, who is the Lama of one of my teachers. And he, a few years ago, he was talking to a group of people, and he said, people always want to ask, what they can do, in terms of things for me, and ways to, show their respect for me, and what they can do to honor him as a Dharma teacher. And he said, I just want you to just take, what you can do for me is take this Samaya commitment, so this vow, that you will, in your heart now, commit to practice continually in some way until samsara is empty, so that there are no beings left in samsara. So whatever we have going on in our lives, we just commit to do what we can on a daily basis to better the lives of those around us, that we commit to work for the benefit of all sentient beings until samsara is empty of all of us. So I'll leave you with that in terms of a motivation for receiving these teachings. So let's sit down, listen to the teachings. As we listen to the teachings, then we kind of think about them during the week and see if we understand them. Luckily, we can have the web, or we can go seek other places to get some clarifications about these things. And then once we feel sure of what we've learned and we develop some trust in them, the way to really develop trust and faith is to put the teachings into practice on a regular basis. So we've been discussing these 8 aspects that are encapsulated in this one stanza of the Heart Sutra. And these 8 aspects are, again, this training or meditation that we undertake, which is first conceptual and then a non-conceptual meditation on the understanding of emptiness. And at this point, we have come to what we call the path of seeing on the road to liberation, on the Bodhisattva's way. So, and it said that this path of seeing, there are 3 doors into this path of seeing. Am I freezing? Okay.
No, you're not.
Okay, thank you. So there are 3 doors on this path of seeing, and contemplating these 8 aspects opens these 3 doors to liberation. And the first door is the door of emptiness, which is the first part of this stanza that we have read. So this part of the stanza is, thus, Shariputra, all phenomena or things are empty. So that is the door of emptiness, the recognition that all phenomena are empty. The second door is known as the door of signlessness. So when we discuss the idea that things have no inherent characteristics in the sense that they're not made, they don't have a made and expiration date, that they don't arise and then cease at some point, and also that they are neither stained nor free of stains. These show that the qualities of these things, the emptiness quality of these things, is that these things are absent of truly existent beginnings, endings, defilements, or inherent purities. So that's what we've been going on the last couple of weeks. We talked about that all phenomena, being empty, are unborn, unceased, stainless, and yet also free of stains. So tonight, we're going to look at the last pair of the 8 aspects, which is to say that they are undiminished and unincreased. So from our everyday point of view, right, when we look at things, conceptually, they seem to become more abundant, or they can become less abundant, that quantity or size seems to fluctuate. And we could say that this indicates that there's some degree of change of amplification or amplitude in what we're experiencing in external phenomena. Maybe you look at, like I do sometimes, I look at what's going on with my bank account, that the money seems to be growing and the money sometimes seems to be decreasing. But since all of these phenomena are, again, part of this unending continuum of dependent arising, it begs the question, what exactly is increasing or decreasing? So if I'm like looking at the money in my bank account, it looks like it's increasing and decreasing, but that's all relative to where the dollar is, right? In terms of, how many francs it's worth, and if it's tanked or it's gone up or down. So all of these things are dependent. So it's all dependent on kind of like a point of view. So what exactly is increasing or decreasing? And phenomena is constantly changing due to causes and conditions. And it has so since beginningless time and will continue into the endless future. So the emptiness here is that from the very beginning, there is nothing independent, rock solid, inherently its own, to increase or decrease. And even the concepts of increasing and decreasing themselves are dependent on other things. They're relative, right? That we can't see something that is increasing unless we've seen something that's decreased, or we don't have a standard to hold it against. And again, when we look at something, if there's nothing independent to increase or decrease, how can these occur? This is also important in terms of our practice itself. So last week we talked about the mind a little bit, right? How we might think that with our spiritual practice, there's something that over time with our practice that we're purifying and that we're ridding ourselves of defilements, right? So that there is some inherent purity that needs to be accomplished and defilements to be rid of. And certainly, from a relative perspective, right? From the perspective of relative bodhicitta, we continue because we know cause and effect, from a relative perspective, are important. That the only way we're able to change our perception of things is to accumulate virtuous activity and to abandon non-virtuous activity so that we can practice our spiritual path. But so from our everyday point of view, this is what we perceive. And if that wasn't the case, then there would really be no point to practice at all, right? But from the point of view of the liberated mind, there is nothing from the very beginning that is defiled, and there is nothing that is free from defilement. And that is the realization that we come to eventually as the result of our spiritual emancipation. Likewise, that we might have the view with our practice that as we practice, we accumulate things, right? We accumulate positive qualities. We want those to increase. And then we want the negative things to decrease. Relatively speaking, when we take actions that are beneficial to this is what happens. But from the point of view of ultimate truth, the point of view of emptiness, from the very beginning, there is nothing inherent to increase or decrease. Whatever it is that we have that is absolute has been there from the very beginning and is inseparable from this emptiness. We are inseparable from that. Our practice finally serves us to be able to recognize this. So in terms of the 3 doors of liberation, this last pair, and it depends on what Lama you speak with, it could be the last 2 pairs of qualities, these being stainless, not free of stains, and then not gaining and not losing belong to the 3rd door to liberation on the path of seeing, which is the door of wishlessness, that we drop the need to gain qualities and gain quantities, right? We drop this idea that there is anything inherent in us or out there to defile, that there is anything inherent out there or within us to purify, that there is anything out there or within us to lose, and that there is anything out there or within us to gain, that it is all there right now and has been through beginningless time, and on a continuum will go unchanged into the future. So that's a summation of the 8 aspects, but we'll have like a little bit of a go over next week, and I'm going to kind of like explain to you where we are in terms of the stages of the path of the bodhisattvas when we do that. But for now, let's finish up tonight by taking refuge and reciting the sharing of merits.